Hello everyone, my name is Joshua Evans and I'm the founder of Ginger Tech Incorporated, and I am the founder and CEO of that multi-million dollar company, and we're going to continue to grow it. And this is basically my story. So I started off, we could go back, it's just my origin story, I guess. I really like to program. I've always liked to program, and I always liked technology. When I was 6 and 5 and 7, when I would be given gifts, I wouldn't actually play with it. I would take it apart and look at the circuitry, the green circuit board, the green PCB, and look at all the components and take it apart and try to put it back together. Most of the times I ended up just breaking it because I didn't know what I was doing, but I always found it interesting. And both my parents were teachers, so they very much encouraged this behavior. They just, as I started going into my little brother's toys and breaking those apart, I had to pay for those toys that I broke apart, but they definitely encouraged it, and they gave me kits, so electronics kits, to go ahead and foster that passion. And I would also get allowance, and I would spend that money at Radio Shack every single week buying components, capacitors, transistors, resistors, relays, whatever else components that I wanted to build stuff like radios, build little sound boards and all types of interesting things, night lights, just flashing lights and things. It was always very interesting to me. But one day I got this kit called Snap Circuits, and this really accelerated my growth in electronics and my journey. I got this when I was around 8 years old, I think, and it makes electronics like Legos, so you could just snap things together and create these complicated circuits. And this really made me like, whoa, I really like this. And as I did that for years, I started programming. If you've ever heard of Scratch, I started programming in Scratch and learning the basic ways of programming when I was about 12. And I would program, and then I would continue on programming every day. Like, I just had fun with it. Like, I didn't really play a whole lot of games. Not really, but I would program all the time, and I would build circuits and then interface those two things. Like, I remember one time my parents took away my phone, and I would use my phone on the bus to listen to music. So I just built an MP3 player. Like, I got a flash drive, I got myself I just have a whole bunch of components. I had an LCD screen, I had an Arduino controller, microcontroller, and I just programmed a little MP3 player, so I could just click on the song that I wanted to play, and it would play it through my headphones. And I had rechargeable battery, like a battery module and all that stuff. So, like, things like that, I would do stuff like that. But yeah, so I would continue on programming, and one day on YouTube, I learned all my stuff off of YouTube, by the way, so I love YouTube. But I continued on, and I saw this video on YouTube of this kid. I think he was about 16 or so. He made an app on the App Store, and it made him all this money, and it was just, he was getting all this notoriety, and it was just a simple app. It was like I think it was like a circle that would spin, and then you would stick as many pins as you could into the circle. And I was thinking, I think I was about 14 at this time, and I was like, man, I could create that. That's not hard to create. So I put all my focus into app development, and the first app development platform that I used was this thing called GameSalad. It used to be paid. It is paid, but I used the free version. And the reason I used it because it was a lot like Scratch. It had blocks, and then you can slide it in. So it was a lot like Scratch. So it was a bit of a learning curve, but I figured out eventually. I made this app on the Google Play Store called Miami Ice. And the app was really simple. You were this gun in the middle, and then there would be opponents coming to you from all sides, and you had to swipe in the direction of that enemy. And when I made this and I put it out there and I showed my friends and stuff, a lot of people like bombed it. So it had like 1 star, 0.1 star, no, 0.5 stars or 0.7 stars. It was horrible. It was terrible. But that was my first experience making an app, and I, of course, wanted to make one better. So instead of using Game Salad. I ended up switching to Unity, which is a 3D modeling and game development or game engine. And I made my app on there, and that one that requires, I think, C#. And I was able to make a game called Star Shooter. And that one, it was fully 3D. You had stars falling from the sky. And you had this 3D gun that you would point and click and shoot it. And the stars had different like modes. So there would be a yellow star, a blue star, a trail star, a mud star, an ender star, and it had all these different features and things that would happen. And yeah, and I had a leaderboard, and that one did pretty well. A lot of kids in my school started playing it, and some of them got so good that I wasn't even at the top anymore. Like, I'm the one who made the games, I should be the best. But no, there were some kids who were a lot better than me. But that app literally took a year from zero, knowing nothing, just understanding the very basics of programming, all self-taught, to getting an app that runs and works. It was an entire year of development. And that was out on Android and Apple. I think it's only out on Android still. Apple took it down because I haven't updated it in a while. But yeah, so I continue making apps, and I realized that games don't have a lot of money in them. If I want to do this full time, if I want to be a programmer and be able to build the things that I want to build, I need to make money, right? That's just how it works. If I want to be able to do something, I have to make money off of it. That's, so it's not a greed kind of thing. So I wanted to figure out how to make money, and I found that games aren't a surefire path to making money, because games, the only value you exchange is entertainment. But entertainment is overflowing nowadays, right? It's everywhere. It's plentiful. You could be entertained in every single type of way that you want. And if you really want to make it to the top, you really just have to create a lot of volume. So make a lot of games and pray and get lucky, which isn't a reliable strategy. And yeah, so I decided to get more into utilities. So I thought voice assistants was good. So I think this was about, what grade was this? I think 10th grade or so. 10th grade, I made this thing. This is still on the Google Play Store. I think it was about 10th grade. I made this app called The Decider. And what it does is it was a very simple app. I only made this app in a week, and I just wanted to see how far it would go. But what it does is it answers questions that Siri wouldn't be able to answer. So the old Siri. So you can ask it, what's the weather? You can ask this, but questions like, should I do this? Should I do that? So should I eat ice cream or should I have cake for dessert? Siri can't answer those questions, right? So I wanted to create not a chat bot, but like a voice assistant that could. So I made this in a week, and it was pretty cool. It's called The Decider. Very simple app. I was going to build it out more, but I don't know, I kind of lost passion for it. But yeah. So that was one app, and I started getting into, this was one of the biggest things. I think it might have also been 10th grade. I made this app. I started on this app called Bus Stop, because I'm a bus rider. When I went to school, before I had a car, I don't think I actually ever had a car in high school, to be honest. But I would ride the bus. And sometimes during winter, especially, and if it's raining, I don't want to be standing outside there for the bus waiting, minutes, waiting for this bus to come. So at the time, the school systems didn't have a bus tracker. I had no way of knowing when and where the bus would be. So I decided to create an app for that. So I went to my vice principal and I was like, hey, actually, before I did all that, in my mind, I was standing outside for the bus in the cold, and I was just saying to myself, I'm going to make this app. And yeah, so I spent about a week making the very basics. So getting the Google Maps APIs, getting the markers to move around, getting a little module that can track the location, getting the back end so that it would be using, what is it called again? WebSockets, using WebSockets to go ahead and relay the data in real time. Yeah, so getting all that done, and I did a very basic rendition, a very basic version in about a week. And I showed my vice principal. I was very close with my vice principal at my high school, and I was telling her, hey, I made this app, just showing her. And she got me in contact with one of the officers at the DOT, Department of Transportation. And just like that, I had a meeting with, the organization that controlled the bus transit for the entire county in which I was in. So that was pretty cool. And I ended up having a meeting with them. The first meeting went pretty well. They said they had some issues. They said they don't really like this, they don't like that, this needs to be different. And then I went back and I worked on it a whole bunch, like every single day. And then I think a month passed and I came back and they said, all right, we like this. We want to go ahead and move forward with this. So they told me to write up a BOM, a bill of materials of everything I need, because I made a little tracker that you would just install into the bus, and the bus drivers would use their phone to interface with the tracker. And my sales pitch was basically that there are bus trackers that exist now, but they require subscriptions because they're running off of service and they're doing all this stuff. I said, hey, you could just run it off of the the bus driver's phone using their service to interface with this, and it will connect to my servers and then blast off to all the students, and it would automatically tell you what bus you needed to be on based on your location. And yeah, so it was pretty cool. So I made up the bill of materials and everything, but this is the craziest part. This is when COVID was starting to ramp up. So we were in lockdown, so we had to cancel the rest of the meetings, and like an entire year passed, and but I was still working on it, like all through summer, all through spring, all through winter, all through autumn, everything. I was working still on this app. It was called Bus Stop. And one day I received an email from the Department of Transportation. And it was a mass blast email, like an announcement saying, hey, introducing Here Comes the Bus, an app that allows you to show where your bus is so you don't have to stand out in the cold. The exact idea that I was developing and I told them about, they went ahead and released, and didn't, I guess they don't have to run it by me, but that was really something that was a big setback and really like hampered my spirits of like, man, this business stuff is, you could do everything correctly. I don't really think I did everything correctly, but you could do everything well and still not make it. And everyone was telling me that I should still I should go after other counties, because I just was interfacing with that one county, but I can go to other counties. But I was so discouraged that I didn't want to even do any other counties. Like, I didn't even want to, I just wanted to give up on that idea completely. So yeah, but it did show me that you can move very quickly. You can move a lot faster if your goal is to solve a problem. A game doesn't solve a problem. It doesn't really do anything besides just general boredom. It doesn't actually solve a necessary issue. But if there's an issue that is significant and you create a solution for that problem, you can move a lot faster, a lot quicker. So if you're wanting to get into business, find a problem. Don't just think of a business. Don't just think, hey, this would be cool. You can, but if you want to operate off of speed and want to get traction quickly, operate based off of a problem. What are you solving, and what are the other solutions out there? Even if there's a solution that exists, you can make a lot of progress. And so that's just a little tangent. But at this point at my school, I was known as the electronics guy and the programming guy. So people who I didn't know knew that I knew how to make apps. And one day I got messaged on Discord to make an application that would allow them to create an overlay above a game to adjust its controls And I went ahead and made that, and I wasn't creative anymore. I was still kind of like, oh, like from the previous business kind of thing. I wanted to do it very rough and quick. I didn't want to put a whole lot of time because I was kind of jaded by my previous experience, but I still agreed to do it. He asked me to do it. I said, okay, I'll do it, but you have no rights to it, and I'll let you use it for free and all that stuff. So I ended up calling it GP Overlay, Gamepad Overlay, because it's a gamepad overlay. And I made this game, and he was like, okay, yeah, that's cool. I made it in about a week. It's like I'm going very quickly. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time very quickly. And he was like, oh, what if I use it over like Parsec? Like, could I use it over Parsec? And if you don't know what Parsec is a way to remote stream your PC to your phone. And he was like, what if you create an overlay for Parsec? And I went ahead and did that. And then he was like, great, fantastic, thank you. And I uploaded to the Google Play Store. Very simple, very basic, no shading. Like the buttons were green and had a big, like a black letter in the middle. And it was it wasn't good, but it worked, all right? I started using it. Even though I don't play games, I started using it. I was like, wait a second, this is pretty cool. This is a pretty cool thing. Let me just put it on Reddit. Let me put it on social media and see how people like it. I made that. And the YouTube that I originally posted it on got like a couple thousand views. Now, that may not sound significant, but when you have 0 subscribers and they make a video that gets a couple thousand views, you know you've hit something. So at that moment, I kind of just went full gear into GP Overlay and started updating, adding stuff, doing all these other things. And eventually, right now, GP Overlay is at about 20 to 30,000 downloads in total, and it still makes passive income. Like I incorporated some paywalls, and it makes passive income now. It's not a whole lot. It's maybe about $200 a month, $300 a month, but making passive income from that, and I don't update it that often anymore because I'm working on its newest rendition. And now we're getting closer to the present. So this app, I've still been working on this app. I've been trying to grow it and doing all that. But the reviews are really bad. The reviews are quite bad because in the beginning, I did not optimize because I was working from, okay, let's make the bare minimum, the bare minimum of the app and then grow it over time. The layout and the way I did things, and I never made an app before like that. The layout is very unintuitive. It works, and it works pretty well, but it's unintuitive and it's confusing, and it's just not very good overall. So I decided to make an offshoot of that application called Neon, which is going to be more user-friendly, easier to set up. Everything is laid out in a good, proper way, and it looks more professional. And I created that app literally in 2 months. So it took me maybe about 2.5 years to make GP Overlay, to get it to the state where it is now. It took me 2 months to make Neon equivalent to the original GP Overlay, but superior. So here's a little bit of advice from that. Maybe when you're building a business and you've been doing it for a while, it could be very beneficial just to, don't scrap it, but just try to build the entire thing again. Build all of it again, knowing everything that you know. If you do that, you will do it much faster and it'll be a much better product. But yeah, so I introduced Neon, and it's just better in every single way, and it doesn't use Parsec anymore. Yeah, and it uses a thing called Moonlight to establish that real-time connection. But yeah, so I ended up, I was living in the city at this time around Atlanta, and I believe one of my friends, maybe it wasn't my friends, who attends Georgia Tech, was telling me about this cool opportunity to do like a entrepreneurs like a summer camp kind of. like a class. So I ended up doing that, and they told me to incorporate, go ahead and make a C corporation. You are going to build a tech company. You are going to create a product and build a company, and we're going to show you some of the steps and some of the common tips and tricks and some things that you're going to need to know when doing this. And I attended it, and I didn't go to Georgia Tech. I went to Georgia State at the time. So I was very nervous about even being able to get in. And at the same time, here's another thing. At the same time, because I was so focused on educating myself and, for my entire high school career, I really, like, I didn't focus on school really at all, because I was so, like, the stuff I was learning at home, learning how to build radios, learning how to build all these interesting circuits and MP3 players and physics, electrodynamics at home from YouTube. I went to school, and I didn't really take school seriously, even though I thought high school and primary school was really easy, so I ended up getting all A's. But college, they require a lot more time. It requires a whole lot more time, because you have to study, just because they will talk for a little bit of time and they won't give you practice. So you literally have to sit there and just study the material. So after you come back from class, I'm usually doing my own thing. I'm usually programming this, building that, researching this. But in college, I had to literally study, and I never learned those study habits. I could study. I knew how to study. I just couldn't find the motivation to study, because this other thing was, it was just more beneficial, and also getting that freedom. So my grades were I needed a 3.5 GPA to even get in, right? I only had a 3.0 kind of thing. So I wasn't balling, I wasn't excelling in college. But I didn't feel any need to do super duper well. It's like high school, you get all A's, you can get a scholarship, you can get this, you can get that, you can get, And college is does anyone care? Why would I put in 3 extra hours to get 100 when I can put in no hours and get a 75, get an 80? It just didn't make sense to me, so I didn't put in the effort. But opportunities like this, sometimes they have a grade limit or grade threshold, and I didn't actually reach that threshold. So there's 2 markers. Number 1, I went to the wrong school, and number 2, I didn't get enough grades. But I was just completely transparent. I was just like, hey, I did the interview. They accepted me into the interview, and I had to fill out this other thing and actually register for it. And I asked them, and I was like, hey, I don't go to Georgia Tech, and my grades aren't the threshold, but I have this company. I really want to build it. I really want to learn, and I'm going to make it every single day. I'll be early, and I'll be willing to help out. Can I still get in? And, because I didn't want to go there with this guilt that I'm not allowed to be here. I didn't want to have that guilt. So I was just completely transparent about it. And they said, yeah. They said, of course. They said, definitely, right? They said, of course. So I was able to go, and that was super cool. And I learned a whole bunch of stuff about tax structure. When you build your C corporation, you gotta do your documentation. One thing we learned about was the 83-B election, which allows you to elect your tax status so you won't get taxed way in the future. And I learned about how to find your customers, how to build good products, what is product market fit, what is all these different things. And this was so much information that was just really just freely available. And to come to find out, I didn't actually have to be at college at all. There were people who already out of college, just kind of living their lives, just people. So there's opportunities out here that are free, that will give you the information that you need. And everything I learned in that time period, I learned way more in that class compared to all the research I did personally on business and from school when I was studying CIS, which has a business component to it. So it's wild. So at the end of the program, there's this thing called demo day, where Georgia Tech will invite a whole bunch of industry professionals, a whole bunch of guests, a whole bunch of people to look at our booths and see what products we're developing. And yeah, so I was able to do that, and I ended up meeting an investor that's how I got my investment. And yeah, so that's how it happened. That's basically the story. And yeah, so everything that I said right there is very much like, you can do it, right? It's one of those things where it's like, if you put yourself out there, you can really get these really awesome experiences. But yeah, that's basically the story of Ginger Tech Incorporated and me, Joshua Evans, in relation to the business. I'm probably gonna do this video again at some point, but if you want to, I do these videos every single day, and you're gonna see my journey to that $1 billion company. So if you like the video, please like. If you want to leave a comment, go ahead and leave a comment. If you want to subscribe, go ahead and subscribe, and get front row seats to this train to destiny. So, if you would like to learn more about what I'm doing, how I do it, some of the mistakes I make, some of the good moves I make, go ahead and follow along with my journey, and hopefully we can get there to the top together. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.